Thank you for joining my channel, clicking on this video, and watching my content. If you haven't already, please subscribe or follow me on Instagram because I do have 2 different platforms as of right now. And so today, this is a super exciting content that I'm going to be talking about today. Super excited about it because I love talking about purpose and walking in it and finding your divine calling, okay? As you know, that we're going to start off with talking about our tea. So today, tea is the same tea I really love to drink. It's talking about positive energy. So it is a positive energy drink again. But I did mix a little bit of lemon in with that sweet tangerine taste that I had the last time. And we're going to read the quotes that it says on here today. It says, "Be guided, listen to the whispers of the universe." The other one says, "You are the master of your judgments, your decisions, and your actions." Can I get an amen? Okay, let me drink some of this because, you know, my throat. All right, so today we're going to talk about purpose. We're going to specifically talk about the category of isolation, okay? The importance of isolation. I know a lot of people could be, or possibly you may be one of the people that may be afraid to talk about isolation. You really don't want to be isolated. You like to be around people. If you're a very people-oriented person, you like to be around people. You like you really drive energy from the people that you're surrounded by. Some people can get kind of sad if, you know, they're around themselves all the time, or, you know, they're not around a whole lot of people, because some people are genuinely extroverted people. That's me. Okay. I'm not an introverted person. There's sometimes I want to be by myself, but that doesn't mean that I'm an extroverted person. There's a difference. Okay. I really drive my energy really can't come from being around people. I can literally get like from my energies like on 2, 3. And then when I'm like going out and having fun and going to go get some live music or karaoke, I get on 10, baby. I am super excited because I love being around people and I love to have fun. But I have realized that even as an extrovert, someone that has a divine calling in their life, someone that has a true purpose on their life, and I really do think that everyone has some type of purpose or a destiny that you are supposed to that you're supposed to move towards, okay? You're supposed to become some transformed person, whatever transformation you're supposed to go through. You're supposed to be transformed mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So just that all of you basically is supposed to be transformed so that you can become elevated and evolved. Okay, so that is what my platform is about. For those of you guys that are new to Treasure You, I do have to slow down my talking, y'all. Pray for me because I am a fast talker, especially when I'm excited about something. So learn to slow down my talking. But okay, isolation is extremely important when you are going in your divine purpose or you're moving towards that destiny, especially when you're moving even into a new season, because you can be still moving towards a destiny in your life or a purpose in your life, but there is a season that God is calling you to. And some people say the universe, but I do believe in God, so I'm going to say God, that God calls you to, that will require you to be isolated. Okay, isolation, especially for people who are extroverted people or someone who is not used to being by themselves, especially if you are in big families or you're used to being someone that is always just people calling you, texting you, you know, pulling your energy. There is a season where you have to literally reserve your energy for yourself, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're going through a season of transformation, a lot of us have not healed in areas that God wants us to heal. And you only know that by God revealing it to you, what areas that he's saying that I want to elevate you in. Elevation could be not just, financially where you're making a lot more money. Elevation could also be how you think, how you portray yourself, how you operate in the world, how you see the world, elevating your mind. And so when you are going through a season of elevation in your mindset, positive mindset, which is, what the channel is all about, then a lot of times that is going to call you to be by yourself in a particular season. That season may require you to do a lot of positive thinking and a lot of transforming your thoughts into a renewed mind. A renewed mind comes from you healing in areas that are, you're consciously or subconsciously thinking of. Maybe you went through childhood trauma. Maybe you're going through trauma right now where you're in a poor relationship, you're in a toxic relationship, or you got toxicity around you. You have people around you that God has to reveal to you their motives and your motive of wanting to be in their life, okay? And so sometimes that isolation calls you to now become in tune with oneself. And when you become in tune with oneself, or when you're going in a journey of like a self journey, that's what I would call like a self journey, especially when you're a single woman or a single man and God is calling you to like marriage with him, or you're by yourself and you are single, then a lot of times you have to be able to figure out how to channel yourself mentally to be able to be by yourself, and you are okay. You're more than okay. You're good. You're thriving. You're not just living, you're thriving, okay? Thriving doesn't necessarily come from who is around you, what you have, what finances you have, the job that you have, because all of those things are tangible. All of those things can be touched by the enemy. All of those things you can make one bad decision and some of those things walk away out of your life. God forbid that those things happen, but life happens to people. What you have to understand is when you're going through a transformation, it is about being in tune with yourself and knowing who you are and whose you are. Okay. So some of us that battle with abandonment issues, we want people surrounded by us to pour into us, to give to us, so that whether it be their energy, finances, their spirituality, their words of encouragement, because we don't know what it looks like to depend on ourselves. We depend on other people. We are dependent on people being in our lives. And let me tell you something. One of the reasons why God pulls you back in a season of isolation, when you have to heal, is because God knows how much you're going to bleed. God knows how much he has to heal you from. He understands what you're crying about. He understands and sees the tears that you have to cry. And there are people that can be around you who do not know how to protect that. There are people who are around you that may not know how to heal you from that or nourish that. And it is not really their job to do that, because it is your divine creator's job to be able to do that in yourself, which is you seeking help, you going through therapy, you going and getting some accountability partners. But even if you are in a season where, like, even when I went into a season of isolation, that I'm really no longer in that. I'm single, so I'm still isolated, but I have people around me. I have financial advisors. I have business advisors. I have friends that never really walked away from me, but there was a season that I did have to pull back because I wanted to make sure that I heard the voice of God. And so that's really number two. God does that to not only heal you, because he wants to protect how much healing you're going to have to go through. He wants to protect your character and your dignity and your integrity. But then he also does it because he wants to make sure that you understand what you're carrying, what you're being called to, And he wants to understand that you know how to handle the people, that when he finally surrounds you with people that do love you, that do can nourish you, that understands the calling in your life, that understands the purpose of your life, you won't take them for granted, and you won't hurt them the way that other people hurt you, because hurt people hurt people. And so if you don't heal those areas of trauma of your childhood, maybe you were molested, maybe you were raped, maybe you were told bad, someone just really threw all of their negative energy on you, and there were so many bad words that they spewed at you, that you took on that character, and you really believe that you were not pretty. You really believe that even though you're probably one of the most prettiest girls walking around this earth, because I do believe God can create you, with an actual image and appearance of beauty, inside and outwardly. And you don't see that because you are so hurt by what people have said about you that you've taken on the identity of hurt, the identity of low self-esteem, the identity of depression, the identity of anxiety, and you have not put on the identity of Christ. You have not put on what God has said about you, that you were made in his image, that you are a goddess, that you have a God image, that you are a God, that you are a king, that you are a queen. You don't believe that because all you hear is what the enemy told you, that you weren't good enough, that you had pimples in your face and those pimples will not move, and you think you're ugly, and when that has nothing to do with the beauty that God has created on the inside of you. And so you don't see God for making you into his image. And I'm going to use like a story that a lot of people know about, whether you're a Christian or not. You know about the story of David. I really want to tell you guys the story of David because when I was reflecting about the content to talk about on Treasure You, first of all, whenever God gives you a word, he is always going to talk to you straight, chase, no chase, no chasing. He's going to talk to you first before he gives the word to other people. And so God gave me the word for you guys to talk to you guys, and to build your character. But he was building my character first, and he talked to me about the importance of emotional healing. And I thought about the story of David. For you guys that don't know maybe the biblical story of David, he is one of the greatest kings in the Bible. And he's known for taking down Goliath. Okay, Goliath is a very large giant that his people, which I don't know the nation, but you guys drop it in the chat and the comment if you remember the nation, because I do have to go back and just brush up the story, but it just came to my remembrance at that time. And David used to like slay bears, lions, tigers, and he also was a shepherd of sheep. Okay, if you have ever been in a time of isolation, if you've ever been in like a wilderness, spiritual wilderness, you know that God will always, let me take that back. You know that isolation is not easy to go through. This is why I'm posting the video, because when people go through things and they are delivered, or they have a testimony, or something miraculous happen in life, or they just really learn how to get through life, like their life journey. A lot of people don't really share that because they don't want to be transparent. And the reason why is because it's hard to be transparent, because people get to see your flaws. But I'm okay with it because we heal by our testimonies. And also, people do not know how to transform unless you show them how. People, don't really understand unless, not everybody's going to pick up a book and read, all right? So if you are a person that believes that you are a leader, sometimes it is better that you share some of the triumphs and even the lessons that you learned in life, so that other people can learn, and they not only follow you, but they know how to lead in their own life as well. They become born leaders who lead other people, right? So David was a shepherd. He was a shepherd of sheep, right? And he was always isolated. He was the son that his father did not want to become king because of his stature, because of the way he was physically made, because of his small stature. He was a small man, not really big, very short. But let me tell you what's the beauty about his story, which I love the story of David. And the reason why is because David, when he finally went into that wilderness, we don't understand that wilderness is how God creates our character. We don't understand because we see isolation. We see that we're alone. We see we don't have people, but it is God building your character by you hearing the voice of God, you understanding the voice of God, you understanding even your own voice and how to become in tune and discern spiritually. And so you build intuition, and that's what God did for David. David was a shepherd of sheep, and when he was, first of all, he became a leader. So that's number one, because he was a shepherd of sheep. Number two, he learned what he was capable of. So in an isolation, when you go through isolation, that is another thing that God gives you, is the ability to understand your capabilities, the ability to understand what you carry, the ability to understand how precious the gifts that God has given you and how to use them. David was able to, if you know the story of David, he was able to slay bears, tigers, and lions based off him being able to be in the wilderness and isolated. And he had to learn how to fend for himself. But when people look at the story, they're like, poor David. No, not poor David, because David became a king after that. Because when there was someone to be anointed to become king, the oil only fell and broke. The horn only fell and fell all the way through David. No one else could be anointed to become king. Not only that, but he got the strength to be able to take Goliath down, that everyone was so weakened by the giant. They were so afraid. They were scared of the giant. But David had something bold on the inside of him that said, if I can take down bears, I can take down lions, I can take down tigers, I can take care of you with the same tools, the same equipment that God gave me. I didn't have equipment out there. He literally used a rock and a sling. Okay? So what does that teach you? It teaches you to use what you have already inside of you, already possessed on the inside of you. David had his character. David had his boldness, his willingness to be able to, and his wit. He was very smart and very intelligent. He knew how to use the things that were around him for his advantage. And so he became very wise. And when you go through a process of God developing you, and a process of transformation and self-journey, it is going to require isolation. But isolation is not something that you need to be scared of. You need to embrace it. You need to understand, what lessons is God trying to teach me? Pray for guidance. Pray for protection and understanding. Be intentional about where you're going in your life. Be intentional about the people that you surround yourself around. David was not surrounded by anybody but himself and the voice of God and all of the other things that he needed to understand. Of course, nature, animals, but he was literally around nobody. But the reason why that's so beneficial to him is because he understands the power that he possessed on the inside of him. And the only way that you can learn that is through isolation. The only way that you can learn that is through isolation, calling you forward and calling those things that on the inside of you that you possess forward. Okay? Isolation calls you to stand up and be courageous and fierce and bold. Either you're going to fold or you're going to become bold. Either you're going to cry about it or you're going to do something about it. And that's exactly what season that a lot of you guys may be in, where you're going through a season of isolation and you're understanding, getting a deeper sense and version of yourself, where you're understanding who you are, you're understanding where you're going in your life. But understand this, It is not something that you need to be afraid about. You need to be afraid of. You don't need to go into depression and anxiety. And as a matter of fact, I would actually rebuke depression and anxiety off of my life, because it is very simple and very human to go through depression and anxiety in a season like this. Like when I went through a season of isolation and I had to figure out where I wanted to go in my life, what made me happy, I did go through a season of sadness, a very deep sadness that I will call depression, not just because of that season, but because I carried the spirit of depression my entire life. But then when I went through that isolation and I made up my mind that this was not going to make me fold, but I was going to become bold, that is when I became fierce, and I became that person that was going to persevere. And not only did I become I persevered, but then I became the person. I was starting to become the person that I always felt like I could become, but I never felt like I was capable to do it. Because I was always standing in my own way. I was always being the person that was saying like, oh, you can't do this. And sometimes it's really the enemy. A lot of people say, you're standing in your own way. No, sometimes it is the enemy on the inside of you, using the things that the seeds that he's put in your mind, the seeds that he told people 10, 15 years to tell you all your life. Now, when God is calling you to move forward, you cannot move forward because you have a mindset of defeat. You don't have a mindset of positive. You don't have a positive mindset. You don't have a mindset of the possibilities of what if I do make it on the other side? What if I do become that person that God has created me to be? What is the worst case scenario if I actually embrace this season and stop fighting the very thing that God is calling me to? Stop calling everybody and their mama at 9 in the morning, at 7 in the morning when I need prayer. How about I pray for myself? How about I, really just hone in and really just go all in and just say, okay, I'm ready for this. What is this season calling me to? What am I desiring in my life? What is the universe telling me to embrace? And there are a lot of signs around you that will show you what season that you're in. But it is so important that you become a person that discerns, that you become very in tune with yourself. And we're going to talk about that in another video, because I don't want to cover everything in one video, because I will be talking for hours, because it's just so much good, information and knowledge. But don't be afraid to step in a deeper sense of who you are, and allowing this season to call you forward. And if this season is calling you forward, then that means it's calling you from something. And if it's calling you from something, then allow people to walk out of your life. Allow things to walk out of your life. There may even be some bad habits that you have picked up along the way that you do have to say, okay, that's a bad habit that I don't want in my life anymore. But it is important for you to grow in this season. And it is very important that as you grow, that you embrace fertilizing. And fertilizing sometimes means that there is dirt being put on you as a seed is, so that you can manifest and grow to the plant, the tree, the blossom into that flower that God believes that you can become, that he knows that you can become. But listen, just as we said with the quote before we started our content, right? The quote that said that you are in power of your decisions, and you are in power. You have the power of your decisions. You have the power of your actions and what you do in your life. That is very important for you to understand that, because God could believe that you're capable of something, but if you don't believe that you're capable of being this person that you've always wanted to become, you will never become it. It doesn't matter who you have in your life. It doesn't matter what they say to you. It doesn't matter how much encouragement and prayer you get. If you do not call those things forward as if they already are, and believe that you can be that person that you see yourself as, you will never become it. Because you're standing in your own way, and it is the energy that you are producing out on the earth, that you are producing in the universe, that the energy is coming back to you, an energy of defeat, energy of sadness, energy of depression, energy of anxiety. So what you have to do is Reverse it, boo. Reverse it, sis. Reverse it, bro. Reverse that curse on your life. Because you're cursing yourself. You're literally cursing yourself with the words that you're saying to yourself, with the thoughts that you have in yourself. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think that you're defeated, then you're going to be defeated. It is not the thought that is a sin. It is not the thought that is wrong, because we are human. We are human, people. Like, y'all, we human. Okay? Whether you religious or not, you're human. You're going to mess up. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to be imperfect. You are perfectly made in the image of God, but you are not God. Okay? So you are perfectly made, but you have imperfection at the same time. Especially because we do have sin in the world. We do have evil in the world. And it is easy for humans to be manipulated by sin. Because our desires, because we want our desires to be filled. It is not the desire that has the sin, it's the sin. It's the desire that sometimes sin is that sin can be attracted to, like that temptation. You being tempted for your desires that cause the sin. So the temptation is trying to plant the seed of sin, and now sin is produced in your life. So it's not the desire that is the sin. It is the temptation that you allow to plant the seed of sin that leads to sin actually being developed. Okay? So in this season, guys, what we have to do is realize that we have to speak those things that we want in our life. Okay, that's not one of the only things, but that's one of the first things. Like when you get up, you got to speak against those things that you don't want in your life. You got to look in the mirror and say, I am who I am. I love looking at myself. I'm beautiful. I'm wonderfully made with flaws and all, honey. My body is beautiful. God made me gorgeous, on the inside, on the outside. I will produce good energy. You have to say those things because life will come. Life happens to everybody. Life happens to everybody. But it is the choice that you make, whether you are going to grow in spite of, that makes the difference. In spite of you going through childhood trauma, in spite of the molestation that you went through, you still made it. In spite of what people said about you and they spit on your name and they said things and they lied on you, that you still did not cuss them people out, even though they were well deserving of a few choice of words to say, okay? Just saying. But God tamed your mouth because you are in a season of growth. And what comes out of your mouth will either fertilize what you are going to create or it will destroy it. And because you know the power of your words, because you know the manifestation of your energy actually exists, because you know how powerful you are as a queen, you do not attach yourself to negative energy. You do not attach yourself to a negative man that does not mean anything good for you. You cut him off and you leave him in the dust, bro. Like, you love him in the dust, sis. You leave him where he at. And you press forward. And you move forward and you grow towards the woman of God that you were created. Because listen, God requires us to grow. God requires us to transform. God requires us to evolve. God requires us to elevate in spite of. It doesn't matter what you go through in life. It matters how you handle what you go through. That's what makes the difference between somebody who's successful and somebody that stays stagnant. It is the mindset. It is the mindset of possibility. It is the mindset of you understanding that I can do it. And then you strategize. You make it happen. You don't just say it, but then you figure out how to make it happen. You get you a journal like this, honey, and you start writing down your plans. Look at all this stuff that I wrote down. All of this, all of the little things that I'm writing down. But y'all, You gotta activate it. You gotta activate that thing, and then lead with the spirit of expectation. You lead with the spirit of expectation. You anticipate that whatever you've been speaking in the universe is going to happen. You looking for it to happen. You seeking for help. You seeking for health. You're seeking for healing. You're seeking for renewing. You're seeking for refreshing, even if it's coming only through you. But you seek it on the inside. And how you seek it on the inside is through meditation. It is through speaking positive words to yourself. It is through saying even words like, I don't care. I tell people I speak to myself out loud. I do it at home. I do it when I walk my dog. But the reason why is because I know how powerful my mind is. And I know that the enemy knows how powerful my mind is, and he comes to attack. He comes to seek, kill, and destroy those that are actually open to his tactics. So what you have to do is speak those words against your mindset. So when people say, oh, don't be saying stuff out loud or whatever. No, I think that's a lie. I think that's wrong. I don't think that's real. That's really how you become you become the person that you are created to be. I think as a matter of fact, you should speak those words that you want to be manifested in your life. And sometimes if people watch you doing it, it may motivate other people to do it themselves. Because you're not afraid to grow. You're not afraid to be fertilized. You're not afraid to be nourished spiritually. And bro, sis, sometimes that's you doing that. It is not other people doing it. It is not you using other people in your life to be filled by them. Because listen, everybody going through their own stuff. They need filling too. And all of us have our own measure of growth that we are required to do. So what are you going to do about it, sis? Are you going to sit and be depressed all your life? Or are you going to get up and say, depression will not hold me. Depression will not be filled in my life. Depression will not break me. I will get up and be the woman that I know I'm capable of being. And when you seek life like that, when you anticipate, when you have the spirit of anticipation and expectation, when you are motivated to move forward in life in spite of, it is only so much the enemy gonna do and say, then he gonna be like, dang, I can't get her. Now, of course, he gonna use other tactics, like, he may not use that man anymore, but then he'll use other things. But then what you do is, because your season of isolation has taught you how to be in tune with yourself, which means that you are intuitive, which means that you become discerned. You have the spirit of discernment. You begin to see the same tactics because he used the same stuff. I mean, he don't got no new tricks. If he used the same person another person the same way, you're going to use another person the same way. Like, he use that same person, a certain way, he's going to use somebody else the same way. Protect your mind. Cover your mind. Watch who you surround yourself with. So, before we go, I want to share with you some quotes that will probably help you to be able to speak those things against your mind, right? And then we're going to talk about in another video how to fight depression and anxiety, right? Okay? So in the season, it's important that you surrender what you want for God, what you want for what God wants in your life. Okay. I release those who have knowingly or unknowingly hurt me. I release the pain and trauma out of my mind, body, and spirit, and replace it with restoration and healing. I accept the new journey I am traveling. I embrace change. I embrace and accept the people God wants to send in my life for elevation. Every good energy I send out to others will return in abundance. Amen. Finances, family, opportunities, my community, everything that belongs to me is blessed and it is covered. Sis, King, these quotes are so important. And I will tell you that it is very important that when you are going through a season of transformation, a season of isolation in your life, that you speak things to transform your mind. And so that you can manifest what you want to see in your life. And so if you have to continue to watch this over and over again, that you write down these quotes and you speak those, whatever quotes that work for you. But if these work for you, then good, and use them and write them like on a mirror, put them in your car, put them in your office, but put them anywhere that you need to be reminded when you're going through a season of isolation, because there is going to be an attack and battle on your mind, but it is normal to go through that because you are human. But always remember that you are more than capable to get out of this, and it is only for a season. But most importantly, the season develops your character to be the person that you always knew that you could become. So in order for you to go on the other side, you have to embrace it. You have to embrace change. You can't be defeated. You can't allow it to destroy you. You have to be like David and take down Goliath because you know what you're capable of. But the only way that you're going to realize what you're capable of is being able to embrace the wilderness and the isolation that you're going to go through. But on the other side, there's restoration, there's renewing, there's love, there's hope, there's healing. There's forgiveness. Forgive the people that hurt you because they didn't even deserve you. Forgive the people that did not see the purpose that was on your life because it wasn't for them to see it, because they're not the people that's going to be in your life, because if they did see it, they probably would abuse it. They probably wouldn't know how to nourish it. Be okay with the people that didn't fertilize you. And then accept the people that when God does bring people into your life, embrace those people with open arms and understand that they mean good in your life, that they come with good energy, that they come with good spirit, that they may be an angel that you have prayed for that would take you on another level of elevation, because there's only so much you can do by yourself. Then God has to bring people in your life to now elevate you to another level. Embrace it, sis. Embrace it, King, because at the end of the day, you're going to be far greater and far more stronger than you ever were when you were in a season of defeat. Change your clothes spiritually. Change your clothes spiritually. Take off the old clothes and put on some new clothes, new clothes of a king, new clothes of a queen. What does that look like? Adjust your crown, queen. Adjust your crown, king. Take your throne back. And the way that you take your throne back is taking over your mindset. And understand that the battle is always in the mind. The battle is always going to be inwardly, in your spirit, in your mind. But it doesn't last always. But as long as you stay in the spirit of defeat, you will stay chained. But in this season, for those of you guys that's going through a self journey and you're going through a season of isolation, that God is pulling you back just a little bit and saying that I got to do some healing. I got to do some restoration. I got to do some renewing. I got to change your clothes. I got to change your mindset. I pray that you not only embrace it, but that your life become changed and you become transformed, elevated, and evolved. I hope this blessed you, because it definitely blessed me. Because we all are in some type of season of being transformed, elevated, or evolved. And I'm thankful that God has sent me to be your messenger. And so if this message did you some good, I pray that you continue to listen to it until you become that woman that you know that you can become, or that man that you know that you become. Until next time, God bless you guys, and see you soon.